Well, I wake up in the morning, put my boots on like everybody does, grab my hat as I hit the door. But there's something different, there's something more. I've got bullets in my pocket and a rifle in my hand. As I roll outside the wire, I know it might be my last stand. All the thoughts inside my head are mine and mine alone. The mission that's before me and the ones I leave at home. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow, may death fear me. And when I run into the fire, Lord, may your hand lead and guide me. 'Cause I've got bullets in my pocket and a rifle in my hand. As I roll outside the wire, I know it might be my last stand. All the thoughts inside my head are mine and mine alone. The mission that's before me and the ones I leave at home. If I fall, carry me home, shed a tear, but no, I'm not alone. For those who fought and fell before me will be waiting to welcome me home. 'Cause I've got bullets in my pocket and a rifle in my hand. As I roll outside the wire, I know it might be my last stand. All the thoughts inside my head are mine and mine alone. The mission that's before me and the ones I leave at home. The ones I leave at home.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the True Patriot Outfitters podcast. It's me, Gene. How are you all doing? I hope you had a fantastic Veterans Day weekend. I hope you had an opportunity to find a veteran, active military member out there and thank them for their service. If you are one of those, our hearts and soul go out to you. You are the reason for our mission. Tonight's broadcast brought to you by none other than the Stop 22 Tour. You just saw Mr. Jonathan Wells has a voice that absolutely pierces your soul. Love Jonathan. He and his beautiful family are people. Not only are they core members and starter, part of the original, group to help get the Stop 22 Tour off the ground and running, but they're also very close family friends of ours, and we love them to death. And if you get a chance, get out there, check out Jonathan's music, man. It's awesome, awesome cause. Stop 22 Tour until there are none. All right, check it. So a long time ago, I share with you folks all the time what my mission was with the TPO. We serve those that serve or have served. And it was my objective with my passion of love and fishing. It was my objective to bring our worlds together. We've had some amazing, amazing guests on our show in the past. Mr. Jody Queen, Mr. Mike McClellan, Mr. Matt Steffen. I mean, we've had some guys out there, but I'll tell you what, this guy here that is about to come on our show, he's sitting in the green room right now. I can see him out there. And dude, as far as, I mean, if you've been around kayak fishing at all, and if you haven't heard dude's name, you're dead, because this guy's like the standard, man. He sets, and what he does, I've been running numbers here. We'll get to that in a bit. These stats are just off the chart, man, what he does. And for him to take time out of his busy schedule, stop by our little show, man, this is huge. I can't begin to thank him enough. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring the man in here, Mr. Rus Snyders.
Hey,
Russ,
Gene.
how are you, brother?
Doing great, buddy. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Dude, thank you, man. We are eternally grateful for you. I've been watching you, man, and you've been doing the rounds. Everybody's got you on their show out there.
I've been doing a lot lately. I enjoy it, though. It's fun. Meeting new people, talking to new people about fishing. It's what I love.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, you got to be a pro at this by now. Like I said, I was just watching out there, and I'm like, my goodness, like 5-6 podcasts like in the last 2 weeks. Seems like you've been definitely out there. Well, listen, man, we you and I, this is going to be as organic as it gets, and that's the way I like to do it. Is just, we've never met before other than chatting on Facebook. We have about 60 mutual friends, and I think that's how we became friends on Facebook out there. Yeah. Of course, I follow you just because, like I said, I mean, dude, you're the stick, man. You're setting the pace out there that if you're in the event, everybody's racing for second, it feels like. You know?
I've had some good fortune over the last few years. I work really hard at it, and just eat, sleep, and breathe fishing lately. So it's been enjoying it, though. You know, been getting to travel all over and surround myself around some great people, and really blessed to be doing this.
Dude, it shows. And you're so let's get into so you're from the Tennessee area, is that correct?
Yeah, just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, a little town called Pegram.
No
been
kidding.
Out here a couple years now. Been in Nashville a little over 10 years. Originally from the West Coast, out in California. So I moved out here, a little over 10 years ago, and never looked back. And been loving Tennessee, that's for sure.
West Coast transplant. Now, did you move out there for work, family, fishing? What was it that pulled you out to the East?
Mostly fishing and just kind of wanting to get out of California. I had a couple childhood friends that I grew up with over the years, and they moved out this way to pursue music, singer, songwriter, just musician, and they moved out here in the summer, and I saved some money that summer. I do had a power washing business over the years, so I do a lot of like power washing decks and fences and stuff like that, and I still do that to this day, you know, between tournaments and stuff like that, just to get some more income. And saved some money and moved out that winter after they moved, and now I got my own place and pretty well established here in Middle Tennessee. I love it out here.
Well, dude, you know, we're in Colorado here, so we are, each year that passes, we're affectionately being known as like Eastern California, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a little bit of sand and a casino or two and some hookers that separate us from California, but other than that, man, we're really heading that way. So yeah, it's you know what's awesome though with the Tennessee and being that close to Nashville is our Stop 22 home base. Man, is right there. I mean, most of our singer-songwriters are coming out of the Nashville, Murfreesboro area.
Yep. It's just that center hub for all that kind of music, all kinds of music, but especially country music.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool place to be living, or just to go visit, with just all the fun things to do around the town here, and so much good live music and so much talent around here. It's really enjoyable for sure.
Dude, it's a beautiful section of the country. My wife and I were there. So we went out there in February for a fundraising for one of the Stop 22 tours, he's a combat Marine veteran. That was in Murfreesboro at the Heroes Den. We went there. And then I went, of course, I went to the Gunnersville Bass event.
Mm-hmm.
I competed in that. You took my money there too. And then we did a little vacation. I was going to do Hartwell. Yeah, it was Hartwell.
Yeah.
I was going to do Hartwell, but I realized the way the rest of the schedule was going to work out, I wasn't going to be able to make that third event. So it's like we pulled out, but the Airbnb was still there. So we went on vacation there. Okay. And so I got a chance to see that Tennessee area. That's where I'm going with this long story point here. But it is such a beautiful, beautiful section of the country, man. So many hills.
so green, especially in the summertime. The wintertime,
man.
a lot of the leaves die off. It looks a lot different in winter. But yeah, from spring through fall, we just got through having some of the, some beautiful colors and all the trees and stuff. And leaves have just fallen, but it's yeah, just so lushly forested and so much water, especially all the like creeks and rivers. There's a lot of lakes around here too, but a lot of good river fishing, like smallmouth river fishing, smaller sized rivers where you can kayak or like kick boat or something like that. And that's what I really love about this area. So much of it is untouched. I've been out to Colorado 3 times already this year and spent some time in the outdoors exploring around there. And it's great too, but and especially around the Denver area, it just gets so hard to get away from people. It seems,
bro.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not the
yeah.
Colorado of the 90s when I moved out here,
No.
man.
Nashville, you could still do that though. There's still, I'll go just look on Google Earth and there's just hundreds and hundreds, not thousands of miles of rivers to explore around here. And state does a pretty good job about creating access points. Every year they actually put in new little ramps at the river, just new access points, and are really promoting, people getting outdoors and utilizing these great resources of these rivers and lakes that we have around here. And and it's not a problem at all. Like, doing some searching and finding a float on a river, 5-10 mile float on a river, and you'll have it all to yourself. Some of the other areas where it's like really easy access, you'll see people, but there's definitely, if you want to get away from people, it's not difficult around here, which is why I love it.
Does it ever freeze there? I mean, like hard
it does,
water?
yeah. In the winter, we'll get some snow. At the most, I think the most I've seen is about 8 inches in a day, but we'll get a few little dustings with a few inches of snow. I'd say half a dozen times a winter. We get some really mild winters too, and it just depends. Last year it did hit the record low. It got to like -8 or something like that. And I think it was like -4, but it was like a -25, -30 wind chills right before Christmas. And that was brutal. Yeah. I'm not used to that coming from California.
I was going to say that had to shut the whole state down, man. They were just like, nope, we're done.
Yeah, no, it did. Yeah, it was something. But besides that little, one cold snap we had, it was pretty mild winter, and spring came pretty early. And yeah, by January I was already in Florida though, on starting the life on the tournament trail.
So I was going to say, I'll definitely get to that piece there for sure, because obviously that's what going to be a lot of folks tuning in are going to want to know that for sure. But so you moved California out to Tennessee there now. Family, you married? Do you have kids? What is it? Just you still out running around chasing fish?
Just me. Yeah, I was no family, never been married or had kids, and I was dating a girl for about a little over a year or so, a couple years ago. But yeah, right now I'm single again, and actually one of my roommate is Adam Reiser. He's another kayak tournament fisherman that travels around. He's our little group of friends that kind of travels all over, and a lot of times stays in the Airbnbs with us and stuff. So he's been living with me the last couple years since I moved into this house here. So that works great. Always somebody to talk fishing with and help out with, just getting work and stuff done around the house and whatnot. So
there's a handful of married guys out there right now going, damn it, I knew it. He had to be single to be on the road.
To be able to do, I couldn't do this. Yeah, even when I was dating that girl, and unfortunately I ended, but I did definitely, you have to sacrifice a lot. I had to cut back my tournament fishing probably by half that year. And it's, but that's part of it. I'm going to, while I am, I guess while I am single and do have my freedom, have the time to do it, I'm just going to keep pushing hard. But who knows what will happen in the future. But for now, I'm going to keep pursuing this. At some point, I might, if I do end up meeting somebody and need to slow down and kind of slow down my pace of life a little bit, I'll probably resort more to guiding and still do a little tournament fishing. But that's kind of on the back burner of what I might do in the years to come. Just kind of establish the guide service a little more and focus on that at some point, maybe.
See, this yet another reason why we need to continue to support getting more female anglers out there on the national scene, man. Our sport is one of the best, out there there is no advantage male to female, when it comes to angling. It's wide open, so it's just a matter of a love for the outdoors. But you're
seeing more and more female kayak anglers in these tournaments. And
awesome.
a lot of, obviously Christine Fisher, she's killing it, and Wesley Gray's really kind of, there's a handful of more and more girls that are really doing a good job. Oh, shoot, what's her name from out west was leading the KBF points going in.
From Utah, right?
No, from Southern California. Oh no, why
Oh,
can't I remember her name? Rachel Uribe. Yeah,
gotcha.
she's doing really well. So there's been more and more women that are really making a name for themselves and really holding their own in these tournaments too, which is
I love it.
cool to see that. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's I always wondered that, in the boat when I was messing around in the boat. Speaking of that, you ever before you, and we might as well get into this stuff here. So before you ever got even into kayak angling, did you ever do any tournaments out of a boat? Did you play in the bass boat world for a while?
Yeah. I had a boat by the time I was like 19 or 20. I got my first bass boat, so 18-foot bass cat, and I was doing quite a few tournaments out in California on the West Coast, Clear Lake, mostly Northern California, Clear Lake, the Delta, Berryessa, Sonoma, all those lakes, Shasta, Oroville, Folsom.
Bucket list stuff right there, man.
I was just very fortunate to grow up around there, and I grew up in the Bay Area, so it was a ways to get. The closest bass fishing to me was a little over an hour away, so it was a little bit, it wasn't easy getting to go out and go bass fishing. It got expensive. That was a big point of me moving out here too. It's just such a long drive just to go bass fishing with the price of gas and the bridge tolls and all that. It's just, man, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. But I was definitely blessed to be, grow up fishing all those lakes, and it really prepared me for the rest of the country, fishing so many different places, and especially that Northern California area. It's just such a versatile area where there's so many different kinds of fisheries, from clear, deep reservoirs like Shasta and Oroville, which have a lot of spotted bass, to a tidal fishery like the Delta, which is so complex with all the tides and the fish just moving around so much. And then Clear Lake, which has a little bit of everything, just like a natural lake, a lot of docks and some rocks, some tules and vegetation. That has a little bit of everything at that lake. So it really, fishing those lakes and learning and how to bass fish in that area really set myself up, and a lot of other guys from Northern California, Justin Lucas and Chris Saldane, Cody Meyer, Mark Daniels. A lot of good fishermen came out of that area.
I was gonna say, if you've been around, if you've watched the sport, you know that the California bass fishing, those anglers travel really well because of, if you find success there, you've been forced to fish very versatile waters and to really expand your craft quite a bit. And so it tends to travel really, really well.
You never really feel outside your comfort zone, no matter where you're at.
Right.
You can always feel pretty comfortable doing and adapting.
See, now I'm on the opposite side of that. So I really got serious about fishing when I got up to Minnesota there and started fishing those natural lakes and the weeds and the veg, and I'm a skinny water guy through and through. And I get out here to Colorado, dude, find the grass, find the bass, is the normal line, right? But there's just no grass.
Yeah.
And totally so it is just complete, gin clear water, cold and deep. It's Smalley Haven, they love it up here, but
light line, a lot of finesse stuff.
And it's like,
get good with your electronics. And that's not my style. That's not too much. Even though I did it, quite a bit growing up out west there in California, especially Oroville and Shasta and stuff. Very few of the kayak tournament trails that we fish, or the lakes that the kayak tournament trails go to, are that style of lake. There's a few, like maybe Lake Lanier or Hartwell, even a little bit, but a lot of them just, you can, a lot of them are dominated doing shallow water power fishing, which is what I like doing.
Same.
So
I was just telling my buddy, we had a little Veterans Day end of season fishing event down here at Lake Pueblo, which is probably our state's premier lake for bass fishing. It is like,
is that southern, like by Durango or something? Okay. Is that where are you out of?
I'm on the North Metro side of Broomfield is where I, technically I'm at. And that's on like the Denver metro area. And I'm just on the north side of that.
Gotcha. So it's a little ways to get to those southern lakes.
2.5 hours to get to Pueblo. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a few other spots like Chatfield. I know KBF's come to Chatfield a couple times. That's like an hour away from me. Horsetooth's an hour away. I mean, pretty much everything out here is an hour away. But nevertheless, the point is that we were out there, and one of the guys, angler of the year for Colorado Kayak Fishing Club, he came out. He's an active military member, and he was, pretty much he was pointing, he's calling his shots. He's like, oh, there's a little group down here. And then doink, he'd bring one up. Nothing real major, but the fact that he could see him and go grab him, and it was all on the drop shot, of course. But he had like a medium light rod and really light line. And I'm like, dude, I don't even own a medium light rod. I have nothing that sensitive whatsoever. It's so I'm out there swinging around with a full braid drop shot rig. And, and it's like, maybe I'll learn this stuff or I'll retire. One of the two will happen, I'm sure, sooner or later.
Yeah, it's just another play. It's always nice. I think it's nice going to different things and kind of learning. Like I'll go out when I'm not doing the tournament stuff. A lot of times I'll try and make some trips where I go out fly fishing, which
oh, nice.
That's a good big thing out in Colorado. I know.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of that. I did some of that this year when I went out there, but I'm horrible at it. I'm not good at it, but I would say horrible. I'm saying I'm okay, and I was horrible at it. I've done it enough times now where I'm like, I'm okay, but it's like starting over, and I don't do it enough to really be good at it. But but it's nice just to get outside your comfort zone and kind of learn new things and new techniques and new styles of fishing.
It's the thinking man's fishing is the way I basically always refer to it, as it's that watching these guys before they go out there, they're going down to the river's edge and they're picking up rocks. They're looking for what larvae, is out there. And I'm just like, bro, I'm going to get my spinner bait out here. I'm going to Palomar knot up and we're going to get this on.
Yeah.
Got a couple comments flowing through here. I want to make sure we get those up here. This is actually one of Colorado and the West Coast out here. This Mr. Drop Time Trev there, Trev Stuckey, former AOI with the Colorado Kayak Bassmasters. He's a heck of a hook. He's got you listed as the GOAT there. One of our local directors, actually, from the Colorado Kayak Bassmasters. Yeah, he's pretty good, Jim. He's pretty good. And then we got a Cody Robertson here saying, "Hey, Russ."
What's up, Cody?
And let me see here. One more from Jim. How hard was the adjustment from Cali to Tennessee? It's a different animal for sure.
Yeah, it is. But it took a little adjustment. But like I said, I wasn't completely out of my comfort zone. The one thing that I could say that surprised me or that took me a while to really understand or learn once I made the transition out here is just how shallow fish get out in this part of the country as opposed to California. I mean, California, they can be up shallow, but there usually is some kind of like deep water access nearby. Right. Tennessee, and the way that a lot of the Tennessee River lays out is in the backs of these big, coves or pockets or creeks, there can be these flats where it's like over 100 yards and it's not even deeper than 2 feet. Yep. And you can go way back there into like a foot of water where a boat can't even go because it's so shallow, and you'll still find bass in those areas. California, that would never, like, that was the one thing where I'm like, I've never seen that out west, and I see it quite often around here.
I was going to say, they don't push that far back up in those waters, right?
No, they don't. They just still stay closer to that deeper water access.
Do you think it's a fluctuating water thing where they have history to know that that's going to
drop out?
Yeah.
I mean, it can. The water fluctuates on the Tennessee River too, not near as much as some of the California lakes, but it goes up and down throughout the day because it's a river system where they have hydraulic dams where they're generating water from one to the next to create electricity. Yeah. And some of the lakes have like summer pool and winter pool where it'll fluctuate about 5-6 feet from summer pool and winter pool. And then, but even if it's, let's say, at summer pool, that lake will still fluctuate, a foot or two. If there's a big rain, it can come up still 3 feet. So it's still rising and falling. It's not near the winter drawdowns that like the California lakes get, where it'll drop 100, sometimes 200 feet, down. I'll see like Lake Shasta close to 200 feet down, which is, crazy. In Tennessee, I don't even know if there's any lakes that are 200 feet.
Right. We've got a couple that come about 165, 180 if it's at full, but they're all man-made reservoirs and such out here. So, you get below, 40, 50 feet, type thing, and you can't even see anything anymore. There's no light penetration at that, those depths for sure. Yeah. So when exactly, if you don't mind me asking this, when exactly did you get into the kayak side? Did you leave the boats behind completely, or did you start to double dip? How did that transition
Yeah.
work for you?
So yeah, I guess I didn't finish the story. When I was out in California, I did tournament fishing for a while. Out of that Bass Cat, eventually got a Z20 Ranger and was competing in some of the opens, Bassmaster Opens, and some of the other pro-am tournaments out west, One Bass, Angler's Choice, and got to a point actually where, like I said, my only kind of source of income was power washing decks and fences, and I've grown up doing that. And but got in a position where I had some money saved and was doing a bunch of tournaments and pretty much ran out of money, and came to the realization that I didn't want to put myself in these situations
Right.
where that can happen. That created a pretty stressful situation. So I focused my attention more on guiding at that point. Still
Nice.
did a few tournaments, but built a guide service, and I probably did about 5-6 years. I'd say the last couple of years, it's probably guiding 150 to 200 days a year, quite a bit. It wasn't doing the power washing near as much. I always kind of have a balance between those two things.
Right.
But yeah, then my boat, I had some boat issues, blew the motor and couldn't get it covered, and just actually ended up taking a step back from guiding. That's when I was starting to kind of make plans to, okay, what's a more of a sustainable source of income if I want to be fishing all the time or on the water as much as possible. Even though I was guiding a lot out there, it was just too hard to actually make a living doing it, living where I was and traveling to all those different lakes. So
Well,
yeah,
you
then
you
moved out
kind of
here.
dated, not to interrupt you, but you kind of dated yourself a little bit on this, because for those people that pay attention, you said out on the West Coast you were fishing some Bass Opens.
Uh-huh.
So that was back when they were still showing some love to the West Coast
Yeah,
back there
I
before.
was that was like early 2000s,
Yeah,
probably
man.
2001, 2006 or 7, somewhere in there was. Yeah, it's when I was tournament fishing. I was probably guiding from about 2006 until 2010 or 11 or so.
Yeah,
Took a couple years off. I think I moved out here 2013,
nice.
and wasn't until I did once I moved out here, I did the BFL series, the Music City division for the FLW's kind of
Yep.
weekend series, the BFLs, and had some success in that. Won one of them and got second for AOI, and but that was the last time I did any bass boat tournaments. After that, I got more and more into kayak fishing. Really, what I was doing was exploring a lot of these rivers around here in pontoon boats or kick boats, which
Nice.
is you got like two, inflatable.
Yeah.
It's probably really popular out in Colorado. A lot of people out here don't know what the heck they are.
Belly boats. Yeah.
Belly, yeah, not really, not the
Not the
tubes
full
where you're
round.
sitting in them, but yeah, you're sitting out of the water. You got fins on and
Yep.
have oars and stuff too. And I was exploring a lot of these creeks, and I'd leave. I didn't really know too many people out here when I first moved out here, so I'd just leave an old beat up bike at the takeout at a bridge at a takeout on the river, and then I'd drive back up and put in and float down, 5 to 10 miles. Then I'd lock up my kick boat, pontoon boat, or whatever, and I'd ride my truck back to my truck. Um, yeah, it
That's
was great.
awesome. That's hardcore, man. That's
I was all
awesome.
about it. Yeah, I was doing it, a few days a week, and I just look on a map and like pick a new place to have, an adventure each time. And sometimes I got chased by some wild dogs, and all kinds of crazy things happen. but but
Oh, the
yeah,
days before GoPro.
yeah. Although I had some of it on GoPro. I don't
That's
know about that,
awesome. That's
but yeah,
awesome.
eventually I got into, I realized, hey, I want to like meet some other people that fish around here. So I
Right.
saw like a Facebook group for a local bass club in Tennessee here and around Nashville. It's KBFTN, Kayak Bass Fishing Tennessee. They're based out of Nashville area, and they had kayak fishing tournaments on Percy Priest and Old Hickory Lake, which are both within about half hour or so of like, Metro Nashville area.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, this is a good place to meet people. And I actually wanted to work on starting a guide service for guiding these rivers for smallmouth around here. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll do some of these tournaments, kind of make a name for myself, maybe, and just get to know people in the community here that like fishing. And one thing led to another. Next thing I know, did that a couple years, and I start hearing about some of these bigger, more regional or national tournaments like the KBFs and stuff.
Yep.
And a couple of other guys in the club, including my buddy, my roommate right now, Adam. He was doing some of these tournaments, so I started traveling with him and Josh Stewart and a number of these other guys, and eventually met some of our good friends like Cody Milton, Eric Siddiqui, and we eventually had a lot. A lot of us started traveling around together. Dakota Lithium, which is a big sponsor of mine, they, all of us ended up getting our little clique or group ended up getting sponsored by them, and they'd provide housing and stuff for a lot of our tournaments. So it was a big part of how we kind of all got to know each other, and now we travel around quite a bit, and most times have a pretty big, good sized group, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to like 10 people in a house, which can make it interesting come tournament time, practice time. But more times than not, it works out pretty good.
When everybody, understands and everybody's on the same, kind of vibe, pretty much, it can actually be a really, really cool experience. I've had the opportunity to stay in a Airbnb with many amazing anglers, a bunch of an Iowa group. And it actually turned out to be my best finish of on a national, with the All-American series, was that weekend staying there, with those guys.
Yeah.
And it was a ton of fun. I have very, very cool memories of staying. Plus, dude, isn't that the way to do it if we're going to the grassroots effort? Because I mean, if you can share cost and cut it down, it just makes it so much more viable for everybody involved.
Exactly. Totally.
Sponsors got to love that too, man.
Yeah. No, they do. And they really help out, especially Dakota Lithium really helps out with that. And it's and I'll, a lot of times I'll make my own food. I'll do a bunch of meal prep before, and sometimes if we don't have the house yet or whatever, I'm going somewhere, I kind of created my truck so I can crash out in my truck. I probably slept over 100 days in my truck this year already. But
I feel you there, man. I was in the bed of my truck for a long time.
Yeah, I enjoy it still. I got it all dialed in, and it's just cutting down the cost, and that's kayak fishing in general as opposed to the bass boat fishing I was doing. It's just night and day difference as far as the overhead on the expenses on all that stuff, and it's just way more manageable for someone like myself who just has a small, simple business, and I try to live as simple as I can and say keep my bills down, my overhead low, and as of now I don't have a family or anything to support, so makes it it all works out for me in my lifestyle right now.
I was going to say stars are lined up for you. Normally on social media, man, I don't respond to anything, right? Because I would light social media on fire tomorrow if I had the wherewithal to do so.
Me and you both, yeah.
But I do try to, use it for communication purpose the best I can. And with the nonprofit, we gotta have something facing out there just to keep awareness to, things. But
there's definitely positive sides too. I'm overall,
right?
It's not a good thing, but there are definitely positive things that come along with social media for sure.
There was this post that was going on, and this guy had this really decked out kayak with like an outrigger, and he had all kinds of cool stuff. You could tell it was a dude that liked to wrench on stuff, right? He's a DIY guy, and that's one of the cool things I love about the kayak world is how people can do this thing. Well, one troll in the group, so what is the point of this thing? When my such and such John boat with a 7 horsepower can get there 7 times faster, blah, blah, blah. He says, what can you do with that I can't with this? And so I'm like, do I post? Do I reply? Yes, I got to on this one. So I did it with a smiley face, and all I said was refuel at a 120 outlet. It's like, that's about the one thing you can't do with your little boat there. I love the gas station stops now with my new canoe. Yeah, man, it's plug in, sweet, I'm good to go.
Good to go. And it's even just the convenience of getting it into places that are more difficult to launch or access. You can drag it places. You can it's even smaller. You can tuck it in, in and around. You don't have to have a trailer. A lot of people have trailers. I have a trailer, but I try to avoid using trailers and just have a kayak in the bed of my truck, which is just another reason for just to simplify things, But,
and you're with Wilderness, right? Is that right?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the rig you're running this year?
I got a Wilderness Systems Attack 120 that was my original kayak that I bought from Hook One Outfitters back in the day. I had it for 7 years, and that's my main kayak rig. Just has a Humminbird Helix 7 fish finder mounted in the center. I keep it, pretty simple. It's not super fancy or anything like that. And I did, though, get the Wilderness Systems Recon a couple years ago. It's my second season. I got a season and a half ago, maybe something like that. And that one's a little fancier. It's got the live scope. It's got 2 graphs. It's more of the deeper water.
That's your big water boat. Yeah,
big water boat from when I'm needing electronics and stuff like that. I got a Humminbird Helix 10 and a 9-inch Garmin, like I said, with live scope on that. That one has a pedal drive, and both of them, though, I have rigged up with Torqeedo 1103 motors as well. In the Hobie tournaments, I got to use the pedal drive because motors aren't allowed. But otherwise, besides when it's tournament time, I'm running that Torqeedo on the back of both of those.
Not to get off too far in a tangent, but when's that going to change? When's Hobie going to open up? Come on.
Oh man.
I mean, I know, I get it, right? I get it.
Yeah.
The
they want to sell their kayaks, and they're
right?
If you can't use a motor, there's no doubt that Hobie will have the biggest advantage.
100%.
Just because of the way it's designed, and because you can get through the grass and stuff like that. But as long as you can put a motor on a kayak, then that advantage definitely goes away.
And my question,
my honest opinion.
Yeah, it absolutely 100%. They went to the Wolf River. I've fished the Wolf River many a times. That chain up there by in
Wisconsin.
Yes, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So you've got like 3-4 lakes in play there. You got Poygan, you got Winneconne, you got Butte des Morts, and you got Winnebago, right? Well, when Hobie went there, they took all the lakes as off limits, and they only opened up the Wolf River and the Fox River to be in limits. And I'm like,
I fished that one. Yeah.
I'm like, come on, dog. I know what this is. I, with a motor, have been walked away from by a guy in a Hobie against the current. So I get it. I know their boats can cut current, and they got strong pedal drives. The difference is, dude was breathing heavy, and I was drinking coffee with my XI3 going up the river.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, as much money and as much time, and they allow the Torqeedos and the practice thing. I'm on that outside going, come on, fellas, come on.
There's talk of it. There's been a lot of talk of it lately. It's been a topic of conversation throughout us tournament anglers quite frequently lately. And I know for sure, there's one thing, they will get a larger number. There's a lot of people that have, old towns with the motors or whatever, where they don't really have a kayak that can compete in a pedal drive tournament. Otherwise, at the paddle, it's a motored kayak.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I run a new canoe, and our pivot drive is great for what when it's needed. But no way I'm going to sacrifice my gear pod and my electronic setup the way I have it to put that pivot drive in there just for that. It's like, wow, I've got a bow mount, and I've also got the Newport for the back if I need it, type thing. But other than that, yeah. No, well, cool. I didn't want to go too far in a tangent there. I just figured
they might do it. If they do, like their numbers will probably increase by about 50%. If they're getting 150, 130, 150 anglers per tournament, it'll probably bump up to 200, I bet, if they allowed motors.
So, and I'm just a bystander on the outside. I have fished Bassmaster events. I now work with the All-American, obviously with Josh Booth over there.
Cool.
So I'm very happy where I'm at, but I will say Bassmaster to me holds the most prestigious name in our sport, in my opinion, just because of the openness of the fields.
Mm-hmm.
But Hobie, obviously the money's there, right? The money is at the Hobie side. If they were to do that, man, they really could challenge and possibly, really put Bassmaster in a position where they got to compete.
Yeah,
they won't be able to rely on just that blue shield, for that prestige. So yeah, I just think of it, it's like, hey,
AJ does a great job, great job running those
100%.
tournaments, and he's been doing this for a while now, and just has it dialed in pretty well.
They're the standard, man. I mean, those guys, they do the stuff out there for sure.
Yeah, when it comes to just the award, just how smoothly everything's run. Steve-O, since Steve-O has taken over for director and bassman. Before that, I had some criticism maybe, but yeah, since Steve-O stepped up, he's really changed that for the better too. And I'm so grateful that Bassmaster made the decision to hire him as tournament director, because it's
get kayak
a good
anglers
choice
in there. Yeah. That understand what we're up against for sure.
And I'm hoping KBF, they just had the 10 and their Trail Series championship about a month ago, and so I'm really hoping. They've had a little bit of a rough patch here this last year, but it looks like Chad's starting to get everything figured out, and went through a divorce and a bunch of other. A lot of things happen all at once, and some of it was his own fault, some of it was probably out of his control, but it seems like he's really making an effort to turn things around there and have a strong tournament trail as well next year.
Well, heck, man, we got to get you at least. We're going to find when your schedule permits. We got to get you into at least one of the All-Americans, man. We're all about the fun, having good times, and high payouts, man.
Cool. Those were all like Midwest, more or less,
yeah,
right?
We try to stay in the flyover states because it's the area of the country that the big shows don't come to because there's not as much money there, obviously, and the difference is, though, what we see is that there are plenty of anglers out there, and they just can't commit to the long haul travel.
Yeah.
So 6, 7, 8 hours they can do. 12, 14, 16, that starts to get too crazy for them because they end up taking a lot of time off. So
what are some of the lakes on the schedule for them this year?
So we've got on our schedule this year, we've got La Crosse. We'll be going there.
Oh, sweet.
Kentucky Lake will be in your neck of the woods.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah. And word has it, a guy that is real close to, he's kind of given some conversation that he may try to jump in that Kentucky Lake one. Actually, Steve-O, I think if his schedule works, he might try to jump in our Kentucky.
Steve Owens?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Cool.
So that's, and I think, obviously I'm not going to hold his feet to the coals or anything there, but yeah, that was kind of the scuttlebutt we had heard that.
Yes. Kentucky Lake's only a couple hours from my house. So
yeah,
that's easy enough.
We've got some of the other ones like Okoboji will be at Table Rock, Lake of the Ozarks, Minocqua. We are going back up there again. We're going to go, that's way northern Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And let me see what else we're at there. We've got, of course, our classic. That's the big event.
Minocqua, is that up by Boulder Junction?
That's a good question.
I think that's where I was up there this year.
It's like 25 miles from Michigan. It's that far north Wisconsin.
Yeah. We went up there this year. With Christine and Guillermo and some Eric.
Yep. They like to go up there quite a bit.
Yeah, no, that'd be I heard they had Jordan Westerman. He fishes your series, I'm guessing.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, he was telling me about that.
Yeah, it's a really pretty area up there, and it was we're excited to get back up there. So, yeah, man, we'll tell you what, it's dinner's on me if you make it, man.
All
we'll if there's something we can do for it. So we got another. It looks like we got Trev's got another question for you here. He's gonna pick your brain here, Russ. When fishing the big glide and current for those river smallies, do you fish with the current
or against it?
Yeah.
I will more times than not, depending on how. Sometimes if the current's too strong, it can be hard to fish a glide, I've found. But yeah, I'll fish in at least slow to moderate current, and I'll never fish it against the current. Even though I've heard times where with spinner, other people have said they've fished against the current and kind of hold it in the current seam and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't typically do that. I'll either fish it with the current or sometimes at like a 45 or cross current where you can kind of fish it down current and then kind of it'll
pull it,
it'll make that turn, if you're fishing it perpendicular like that.
One of my big pieces anytime it comes to river stuff, I never set out to do this, but I actually became pretty proficient in rivers. One of the pieces that I always thought about when it comes to presentation is you got to think about those fish in that water, man. If they're in that current or if they're even close to it, they're facing upstream. They're facing into it. So the likelihood of you bringing something up behind them and triggering that strike, isn't near as good as if they see it coming by type thing. So
totally. I'll see a lot of people river fishing where they don't understand that concept and they'll fish it the other way. That's why a lot of times, depending on the river and how it kind of lays out, especially the smaller, rivers, I'd say, is to fish it upstream to actually put in and then just work your way up with the motor, or just, paddling and casting, because then you're not, the river's too small. A lot of times when you're floating down, you either are casting kind of the wrong direction, or you're
Yep.
trying to hug to the shallower side of the bank, and then cast kind of backwards over your shoulder. But a lot of times it'll spook the fish before you can get to them. But if you can fish your way, do a B to A float is what Jeff Little calls it.
Yeah.
And fish your way up like that, and kind of drag up the shoals and the rapids. I've been doing more and more of that the last few years.
Dude, when I was at Lewis and Clark, man, it's that spot lock, anchor mode, whatever brand you have, that was so so important to me. I could get right into that current piece there, pitch over into the little, the little eddies and the cut banks and such, and I could literally just hold my yak right in that stream, as the current's coming at me. Hit anchor mode, motor guide hooks up for me and just keeps me right there. Big time helpful, when it comes to doing that kind of stuff.
Definitely, yeah.
Sure. So we got a question here from the man himself from the All American here. What is Russ's go-to bait or favorite technique that you like to use? What is it?
I'd say if I had to pick one, probably a swim jig, just because you can do so much with it. You can fish it high, medium, or low in the water column. A lot of times I'll swim it and then drop it down by a big lay down or so, and I'll swim it along the lay down and just let it fall down there, and then they'll pick it up off the bottom. Just a very versatile bait. You can fish it a lot of different speeds, a lot of different depths. So if I had to pick one, that would be it. This year I've done very well on a big swim bait, like a Mag Draft, or Chris's, the Zal Dangerous swim bait by Bass Mafia.
Right.
The two of those, I'd say, as far as some of the bigger tournaments that I fished this year, those ones played a big part. That's kind of the lure of the year for me this year.
Nice. Isn't it funny how some of that, like I've had a year where it was swim bait, and it got me stuck on swim baits, man. That became it's just one of my favorite search baits now. I will use a swim bait if I'll drag it across the bottom, I'll burn it across the top. If I find them suspended, I'll kill it, let it drop through them, bring it back up, type thing. It just became a favorite. And I'll find myself, even if I haven't caught anything in like the last 3 outings, I'm still throwing it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I need something new this year to come across, It's like, it just depends on the season. Let's see here. What do we got coming through? Elvis has, I think if I remember right, Mr. Elvis Lee is out of Minnesota.
Hey,
here.
Elvis. I know Elvis.
Yeah. Both Bass and Hobie made it hard for someone like me to do full series. So All American is next season. Yep. It's not easy, man. Even for those of us who have the schedule available, I was looking at some of that stuff. It's like, man, that's such a long haul to get there. It's like 2 days for my old butt these days.
Yeah, especially when you're out there and living where I live, it's at least nothing's really more than one long days of a drive, whether I get to Texas or Florida or even New York, I guess would be the farthest, or Wisconsin. You're looking at maybe 12, 14 hours max for any of those places.
I've been trying to convince the wife on a condo in one of those areas, man. We just got to get these interest rates to come back down again,
It's like 8% now or something.
Crazy. June 22nd, 23rd, Kentucky Barkley Lake. That's right. That's when we're going to be there. We're actually we're going to be based out of Moore's Resort there, man. It's going to be a good time for sure.
Moore's both Kentucky and Barkley?
We are going to, we've been talking about that opening up, and we just thought, you know what? If we crunch it down a little bit as far as boundaries, let's at least make sure that both are in play there to give people just an opportunity. But 150 miles of availability, that's kind of crazy. I don't know if you're really in the spirit of fishing Kentucky Lake at that point.
No, I like it that time of year. That's my favorite times, like late May and June.
Yep, that's what we heard, and that's why we knew we were going to deal with the touristy season. But at the same note, we also heard that June could be a really good month for Kentucky. Down there.
It's good. Better then than later. Once you get into like September, October, it gets really tough. Yeah. November, you don't want to be out there that time of year.
For sure. Well, good stuff, man. So 2023 Bassmaster Angler of the Year. Hell of a job.
Thank you.
You had to take down some sticks for that one. I was watching that field there, and I know several of those guys.
Susquehanna, last man on the Susky, really I put a lot of hard work into that one. I usually don't get too much anxiety or stress before a tournament, but I put a lot of pressure on myself for that one. knew there was a lot at stake. So,
Well, dude, especially when you got like our living legend Jody Queen coming into Susky. I mean,
yeah,
homie
he's
knows that water there,
one of the
man.
favorites. Him,
Yeah,
Drew Gregory. Then you had
yeah,
two Elite Series guys, Greg DePalma and Michael Iaconelli, and a ton of other like local Susquehanna anglers have been fishing there their whole lives. So
yeah.
that's the toughest. That's the first time I've really done good. Even though I mean, that's what I do is river smallmouth fishing is one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
And still, even with that being said, those are the absolute hardest, the ones I've had the most difficult time doing well in, just because the level of competition
Yeah.
is really high in those ones.
Unfortunately, a lot of other people really like doing that too.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Good stuff, man. So you're with we got Catch, Yak Attack, iRod,
yeah. Dakota Lithium,
Dakota Lithium, Torpedo.
Torpedo, Music City Outdoors, local
Nice.
kayak shop here in Nashville, Tennessee. And yeah, we got all the rest.
And
Yeah,
Wilderness, of course.
and Wilderness Systems. Yeah,
Yeah. iRod. Dude, so I've been watching iRod for a lot of years. They've actually been around a lot longer than people realize.
yeah. No,
Some
they've been
people,
around for a while.
yeah, some people
At
think
least
that it's a
14,
new
15 years.
I was gonna say some people think it's a new name, but it's not. They've been around
No,
with
it's
that.
just they're just working their way across. You know, out west, they've always been popular since they got
Right.
started, and they're just gaining traction, getting more and more popular across the rest of the country. And yeah, they built a great rod. And I have my own signature series rod made by them, the Snyders Sniper.
Nice.
They have several different models. You know, they have the iRod Gen 3s, the Air series, the Crusher series. They have several different ones, but my signature series one is in the Gen 3, which is like $160 price point range there, and
Nice.
it's a 7'5", medium heavy. It's like a moderate fast. It works really good. It's basically designed for casting smaller size, like quarter ounce to half ounce baits, with like 3/8 really being the kind of the sweet spot for that rod, just loading
Yeah.
up right, but making longer casts with those baits. Really good for like throwing a chatterbait or jackhammer on like big grass flats, or
Yeah.
if you have like a smaller size spook or gunfish, and you know, for busting fish that are busting a long ways away. I like pairing it with 40-pound braid for most of those applications, and I'll put it like 17-pound fluoro, and it'll actually fish. It'll be a good rod for even fishing like a worm, or like a Texas rig worm or something like that as well.
Dude, I love hearing the gear selection, because I just came back, from doing the kind of fishing that was requiring 6-pound fluoro.
Yeah,
So I love hearing the fact
most.
it's taken me so long, and I think the smallest that I reel up is like a 10-pound floral. To me, that is like super light, finessey stuff. I have 8-pound. I don't have anything lower because I just don't think I'm ever going to
Out
put it on
there,
there.
6 will make a difference out there when the water's
Probably,
that clear.
probably would.
It
And I'm
would, yeah.
guessing that's my beef. I break it. I tie a knot.
Yeah,
I
you can
snap
only
it.
do
You
it.
know.
You can only use that with like drop shots or like a weightless Senko or something
Yeah.
like that. You don't want to throw like a big shaky head or a tube or something with that light of line.
No.
But maybe a Nico, like if it's a smaller size Nico, you can get away with 6-pound. It
Yep.
needs to just have, if you're going to throw 6-pound, you need to have a really light wire hook, because anything
For
that's
sure.
too thick a wire hook with that light of line, you're not going to be able to penetrate it in.
Not at all. Yeah, no, I am 100% there. I just need to commit to it. I think if I'll go find myself a couple medium lights, and then that'll be my Colorado setup. I'll just take that stuff out, and that's how I can
Cool.
try to compete against some of these hammers out here, because these
Yeah.
guys stick them pretty well. So we got the Bassmaster that you lock that thing up, and then of course I will still say it to this date. I think one of the hardest championships, because of the pathway to get there, is that the 10. I mean, holy Moses. And you locked that up this year.
Yeah, I was kind of out of nowhere a little bit. We had to fish in order to qualify for it. Our last tournament of the year was the Trail Series Championship on Gunnersville, and I think I was like 17th going into points this year. So wasn't doing good. And the only way I could make it in is if I basically had to get a top 3 or something like that, and everybody else that was in the top of the points had to bomb a bit or just not have a good tournament. And And that's what happened. I think I qualified after that tournament. I think I slipped up into 9th place and just barely got into the 10. And like I said, then it all just resets. They just take the 10 of us. I believe it was actually they took the winner of the Temptational too, so it was like 11 people actually, and put us on a lake we've never seen before, and it was just a 1-day shootout on a lake we'd never been. Usually the 10 is in Florida. It'll be several months after the championship, and they'll put us all in a house in Florida, and we'll fish the Kissimmee chain. We'll be out there for a while. But just because everything that's going on with KBF, that just kind of simplify, I thought it was a good idea just to make the tournament right after the 10. So they already had the venue all set up and everything all set up, and they just put it on a different lake, and it seemed like a smart decision. But I didn't have any expectations going into it, or even just the fact that I was fishing it. I was like, oh, cool. And somehow it was a deeper lake that wasn't really, I ended up dragging a jig out in like 20 foot of water, which isn't something I typically do. Or if I do that, I don't typically, those aren't the tournaments I win, but surprisingly this time it worked out. I was a few weeks ago at Duck River Reservoir was the name of it. It's in Alabama, not too far from Gunnersville.
Nice. When momentum's on your side, man, and when things are locking in, it just, when it's your time in this sport. And your time, however, though, you were talking about some stuff. So I'm a former hockey goaltender, so I'm all about stats. All right.
Yeah.
So I was crunching, and now keep in mind, folks, all the stuff that's going on the KBF side for the most part is on a different platform. But I was checking out Tourney X, and I was looking over some of your career stats here, and I came across and started busting out my calculator, and then wanted to throw my calculator. And I may have invented a couple cuss words for you. But so according to your Tourney X stats, you of events you have fished, you are placing in the top 10 at about 62.5% of the events you enter.
Wow.
Dude, anybody who's been around this sport knows that is insane. I mean, you're damn near cashing checks, in these at 62.5%. That's like, now that one was like staggering enough, but this next one is your win percentage. Bro, I truly mean it. Guys, if you see Russ's name on the deal, you're fighting over second at that point. 21% of the Tourney X events that you have entered, you have won.
Wow.
20, that's like a 1 in 5 shot, brother. You're going to walk away with that thing. In our sport, those numbers are not seen, man. You've set a pace out there that is, it's inspiring. And I love hearing that you're a power fisherman to boot. And when you said swim jig, I'm like, yeah. I actually just did a little deal at the International Sportsman's Expo where they asked me to do a small little 10-minute intro. And I did on a search bait. And my favorite search bait is a swim jig.
Cool.
I like you for exactly the reasons you said. You can fish it anywhere effectively. It may not be the juice that day, but it'll certainly tell you if something's at play.
Yeah. You can learn a lot from throwing it.
You get that feedback, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you're trying to get is talk to me, damn it. What's going on out there?
Yeah.
But dude, I just wanted to commend you on those stats because I crunch numbers like that all the time. I did it for Jody Queen too, and his were just like, what the heck, man?
Jody's a great guy, good friend of mine. We spend a lot of time together.
I love Jody.
I do, man. He's great.
He was the first, most recognizable name that came on our podcast. Him being a Navy vet, that was a great matchup for us. We started. There's so many of vets now. Are you a veteran by chance, Russ?
I'm not. No.
Okay.
One of my good friends, Josh Lim, he's in the Navy. We grew up fishing together, and he was out in Pensacola Station out there for a while, and fished with him for a number of years. Just made some trips out. Since I moved to Nashville, he was out there, and it's about a 7-hour drive. So I do some saltwater fishing with him, and
good stuff.
Really close. He lives in Houston now, and my mom's birthday is on Veterans Day, which is cool.
There you go. All right.
It's always good to celebrate that along with Veterans Day with her. So
I was going to say birthday cake with a little flag on there as well.
Yep.
That'll always go good. Well, and remember, because I'm around a lot of these guys, November 10th it's the Marine Corps birthday too. Mm-hmm. So, and they love their birthdays.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. So Trev also says, yes, all this, I was going to mention this as well, but nice job on the 4th place at the Hobie event too last week.
Thank
you,
man.
That was a hell of a run.
I enjoyed that. That was a tough field there too, and
Oh yeah.
everybody there is yeah, no slackers in that one for sure.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, man, I don't want to beat dead horses. I know you've been, doing the circuit out there. We touched on pretty much so many different areas. It has been my absolute pleasure to get to know you better as a person and as an angler. Um, we're a huge fan of yours, brother. We're watching you out there, and we're a lot of bated breath, always waiting to hear the next thing, tip you might be throwing out there to folks.
Cool.
Because it's as you know, man, you get bit by that bug right in our sport, and you're always looking for that, either that affirmation or maybe that confirmation, something, that you want to, try to pick up what's next out there. So
Yeah.
where do you see, before I let you go here, where do you see, if you had a wild, idea of where our sport as a whole is going, what do you see in the next couple of years? What's on deck for kayak sport fishing? Are we going
You
to keep
know,
growing, or is it going to table? What do you think?
it does seem like it kind of plateaued or flattened. There wasn't as much growth this past year as there was the last few before that, and it's kind of grown a little bit, kind of plateaued or stabilized a little bit. A lot of that's just because of the economy, the gas prices, and
Yeah.
I think there's still more kayak anglers. I mean, yeah, there's certainly more kayak anglers now than there was a year or two ago. But because of some of just the economy and a lot of the things going on now, it's as far as the numbers for tournaments have just kind of stabilized or dropped off, maybe even a little bit. But I think the next step from talking to a lot of the tournament directors in different organizations is to really have like an elite series
A real pro
kayak
field.
tournament. Yeah, a real pro field, and that would probably look somewhere between like 30 and 50 anglers is
Yep.
kind of the just talking to people is about what it would look like at this point, I think, according to them.
Yep.
And everybody would have a camera running full time, and it would be streamed online, so it would be really cater more towards creating a fan base and creating spectators and getting people interested in the sport that way. And
Right.
if that happened, that would be great. It'd probably be a little higher entries, a little higher paybacks, and but it would really, by doing that, and there's enough really talented anglers now. I think maybe a few years ago when kayak fishing was a little newer, maybe not so much, but a lot of the guys that have been in it now 6, 7, 8 years or whatever, they've really grown. And I've seen, since I've gotten into it anyways, the level of competition has just steadily been going up. But the thing about that is because those people on top have kind of stepped it up to another level, it makes it even that much more difficult for new anglers to get in without feeling intimidated by it, where early on there was only a few anglers maybe that were at a high level, and it still gave kind of the people that were new to it, still some hope to do well. But now there's definitely been a separation, a little more of a separation between the new guys getting into it and the guys that are on top. And I think maybe by creating that pro level, it would essentially get more people into it, not just because there's maybe a fan base or a group of people to kind of look up to look at as pros. But some of the other tournaments maybe wouldn't have those anglers, so it'd be more of a grassroots, and they have grassroots
100%.
level tournaments that are local and stuff like that. I think that's probably the next step.
To your point, we Josh and I and Troy had conversations when we were looking at the schedule. Steve and AJ worked with Josh hand in hand to make sure that when we were setting our schedules up, that we didn't conflict with each other as much as if we did happen to have a conflict, we wanted to be in way different parts of the country. And like we've said, though, if somebody's fishing bass or Hobie, they're going to fish bass or Hobie no matter. They're not going to choose us over that. And we know that. We want to live in our own skin with the fact that we're not a professional series. Okay. And we know that. What we are is, a series that has, make no mistake, has some damn good hooks in there that are fishing it, and they'll take your money and smile at you just the same. But we're in the Midwest area here. And I went one step further to say, technically out there isn't a pro series yet. It's still all pay to play.
Yeah.
And your name got brought up. I was like, I could go right now with no history out there, I could pay and I could go fish against you and hand you my money. You know what I mean? It's like that field is, we haven't made that yet. So you're 100% correct, man. The moment, if you could create a pro level, elite level, whatever you want to call it, you could open up opportunities for a lot of other anglers to come into the, these other ranks and see if it's something that they should legitimately be doing or not.
Yep.
Type thing. So that's I think, to be honest with you, I honestly think when the anglers decided to go create the Bass Pro Tour, they did that for bass. I mean, no disrespect to a lot of that field, but you would have never heard their names if those 80 anglers were still in that field. Yeah.
Yep.
Because there's only so much room at the very top with the sponsor dollars and such. There's only so much that can be done with that.
Yep.
So yeah, it created, I think it created opportunity for a lot of folks when the two leagues came apart.
It did.
Yeah. Well, listen, brother, I can't thank you enough for taking the time with us, man, to come on our little show here and hang out, share your stories with us. We're going to be watching you close. I hope to have you on again. And we'll be watching to see what 2024 brings for you. And hang on a second here. We got another comment that just came through. Thanks a ton for hanging out tonight. And just up here. That's right. You want to chase some fish around? I got a group of dudes, man, that will be more than willing to. We'll go put you on these guys will definitely find the places and put you on some fish. I'll get you some 6-pound line too. Don't worry.
If I'm in Colorado, I'll take you up on that. I got a couple friends out there. Yeah, so made a few trips out there already this year. So it's a good chance I'll be there again soon.
I was going to say, anytime out here, I know we could definitely get some guys together, and we could definitely make a trip of it. Go to some of the better places for sure.
Cool.
Well, if you don't mind, after I close this out here, if you could just hang around for me real quick, and I'll wrap it up with you from the green room there, if that works.
All right, sounds good, Gene. Thanks so much for having me on, man. I really enjoyed it.
100%. All right, folks, make sure you get out there. The likes and the follows, we need them for sure. Beforehand, definitely go check out Rus Snyders at his Facebook, Rus.Snyders. But wait, hang on. I knew I was going to forget a question. Was it clickbait, or did I hear this isn't even your real name?
Oh, no, my real name is Rus Snyders. My father, he's born in Holland. His name's Rus. It kind of translates to Peter. I'm actually the third, so my grandfather's name was also Rus Snyders, and so my dad, when he came here, he switched his name to Peter. My grandfather's name was Peter, and then my mom's dad's name was also Peter. So they're just like, they didn't want to, make it complicated, so they took the suffix of Rus, just Rus. That's why my name just has one S in it. So.
I got you. Kind of like that scene in Goodfellas. This is Peter. This is Stevie. This is Peter. This is Stevie. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, since we're, my full name is actually Harry Eugene Campbell. And now I know there's a few guys that are watching right now that are never going to let me live that down. But yeah, I go by Gene as well. So It makes it a lot easier. Well, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Folks at home, like, subscribe. The YouTube channel is the big one for us. Set those subscribes up. It's the best way you can help us and support us on the mission out here. Rus, again, thank you very much, brother. And we will be talking to you soon.
All right. Thanks again, Gene.
Tight lines, folks. Be safe.
1, 2, 3, 4.